Welcome back to Mindset with Matty. We are back in the studio. We took some time off, a little bit of spring break, but we are back, and we have a special guest, Gavin Drexler. Gavin, how are you doing?
Doing good, Matt. Doing good. Appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, Gavin, we go way back, and the big thing with you, you're a stud from Wisconsin. I love the homegrown people. You're part of that tough culture, and you're NCAA All American, 3-time state champ out of Wisconsin, highly ranked, and still have one more year eligibility. I mean, what you've done is pretty amazing because, growing up, there was studs in Wisconsin, but actually becoming a stud and seeing that go all the way through to becoming an All-American is just something special. What you've done is awesome. So I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
thank you for giving me the platform.
Yeah, no problem. So, let's get into it. You're from Stratford, Wisconsin. So how did you really get into wrestling?
Pretty much just followed my older brothers. They both started when they were little. It wasn't necessarily something that my parents put me in because they thought I was going to be good at it or knew I was going to be good at it. It's just kind of one of them things that you stuck with over time and eventually developed into being a pretty good wrestler. And once I got to be, a bit more mature, I recognized that I really liked the sport, wanted to be good at it, and had the potential, and just kind of ran with that.
Yeah, because I've been to your guys' house. You guys have like a little mini kind of mat room. What is that in the basement?
Just like a little workout room that my dad made for us when we were kids. He thought that it would be a good space for us to roll around with each other and possibly get better and put in extra time that he thought would help, and it definitely did. It started that, I guess, that culture amongst our family that we're a wrestling family. So that was probably one of the first steps into, claiming that you're a wrestler amongst other sports.
Yeah, definitely. Because that reminds me of my time. We still have it. It's a rolled up purple mat because Two Rivers was purple and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom would roll it down and she would make me and Joey wrestle on it. And this thing's tiny. And we'd watch CD videos on our little box TV about like how to do leg riding and all this stuff. And me and Joey hated it, dude. We were just like, Mom, I do not like it. Because the environment, like in your own house, and we'd either be down the basement or upstairs in our like finished attic. It was, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. But now I look back on it, I'm like, that probably did help us like kind of get a little tough. But
Yeah,
yeah. But and dude, being where you are, what's your town population?
1,500 when I was growing up, and now it's a staggering 1,600.
Dang.
So it's grown.
Yeah, a little bit. Because, man, you guys, Stratford is a powerhouse. So what was that like? You're growing up, you're getting a little bit more serious in the sport, and then you're looking at how good your high school is in this little town. What was that like when not only did you want to do wrestling, but you actually had a great team to join for it?
Yeah, it was awesome, and I think it was really cool that I actually, during, I guess, Stratford's probably their peak days, I was just coming up to high school. I was in middle school at the time, and I watched that develop, and if anything, that just made me more hungry to continue that type of legacy once I got into high school. But yeah, I think it goes back to like our youth. Our head high school coach, he did a super good job at recruiting a lot of kids and starting with the youth. And a lot of them kids stuck with wrestling from youth all the way on throughout high school and then on to college as well. And I think that's what really started the culture in Stratford, was just everybody kind of sticking with it and putting in the extra time and grabbing a buddy and bringing him to practice too. And that just built what I think was a good culture. And yeah, eventually our team got to be pretty solid, one of the best in the state. And growing up watching that, it was definitely a blessing, and it just encouraged me. It made me more excited to get better, and also having all them people around me, it made me better.
Dude, yeah, that because we're pretty much the same age, and I remember seeing Jeremy Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his last name.
Shaner.
Yes.
Shaner.
What a
Yep.
beast. What a stud.
Hammer.
Mason Kaufman. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Macy Kilty.
yeah, Macy Kilty, the great Macy Kilty. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched her. She took second at boys state. This was before girls state even existed. And
Yeah.
I remember because Joey was in the other division in the semis, and this semifinals matchup was Macy Kilty versus Zach Anglin. And it was crazy because for those who don't know, Zach Anglin wrestled. He basically was born with no hands and no feet. And
Yep.
his legs were like one was a little bit longer than the other, and he kind of had these stubs and on his hand instead of hands. And this place erupted. It was because it was just like, man, we're either gonna get a girl in the state finals, or a guy who was born with no hands and no feet. Like it was crazy. I mean, that was like probably one of the coolest wrestling atmospheres I was a part of. And the match was like 10-9, like back and forth, like yeah. So
in ultimate over in rideouts.
yeah,
In rideouts.
yeah. I mean, that was just that was insane. And yeah, I mean, because whenever I looked at Stratford, I was like, man, they just have constantly good people coming out of there. Like, what is? And I knew the town wasn't big. I was just like, what is going on? But yeah. So that's crazy. So let's get into okay. Now you're in high school, right? And you're excited to just be part of this great program. So what was that like? Just your first time being in high school.
It was cool. I definitely felt like I was ready for the scene. I practiced with our high school in my 8th grade year, so the year before high school. I was my older brother's partner, and I was just in the room. I was familiar with, I guess, the environment, and I had been wrestling year round with freestyle and Greco, also going to other national tournaments. So, wrestling at the high school level, I just felt like I was ready for it. Nothing about it really surprised me, and my first year I shared it with my older brother Matty, and
That's
that was really
great.
awesome.
Yeah, being with the
him
brothers.
and I, we were, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I guess you probably know all about that.
Yeah.
But having him in the room definitely helped. I mean, he was also very, very good, very tough, a little bit stronger than me at the time. So
dude,
he got me better.
Manny was overly strong. That dude, he was the most
yeah.
jacked, most ripped, 106, 113, whatever weight he ever went, most jacked at any of that weight. He was ripped.
He was pretty cut, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, he was good. He did everything right, because I'm a freshman and I had to probably cut a little bit of weight, nothing too crazy, but I wasn't that familiar with how to do that on a full year scale. So, he helped me, guided me, and kind of set the example, and that was huge. And, our first year we actually took second at team state. But that whole season we had a lot of success. Just a lot of core memories, and I guess we got familiar with what like winning was about.
Yeah.
So that was just fun and exciting, and
As a younger
good first year.
As a younger brother, I mean, because I always did this too. Did you kind of look at what your older brothers did and see like the right things they did, see the wrong things they did, and kind of like, do you think that kind of made a path for you to give you some success?
Absolutely. Like, you hit it on the head. I think about that frequently with my brothers kind of paving the way, and being the third brother, you definitely get to learn from the other's mistakes. And not only that, but it helped me navigate things easier, quicker. And I watched my brothers wrestle. I watched their approach going into things, what worked, what didn't, and I kind of put together a whole system of my own that seemed to be pretty successful. And having them guys kind of, it's almost like they took the bumps in the road for you. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit smoother of a path once you get there.
Definitely. And I also want to ask, did Manny ever help you with your diet? Because I remember when you were kind of little, you kind of were a pudgy kid, and then the next time, and then I saw you like a year later or like 2 years later, and you were ripped. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? You lost all the pudge.
Yeah, I just had to take like one donut out of my diet per day.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
I mean, it was just so funny.
I
I
guess.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I remember someone saying you took a body test thing and you had
Yeah,
26% body fat.
I think it was higher. I think it was 30.
Oh my gosh, dude. That is that is hilarious. Hey, you're still a good wrestler though. It didn't affect your wrestling at all.
No, but yeah. But yep, I remember I think it was seventh grade. We were training at some club and he wanted to do like mock pinch tests for the older guys who were getting ready for high school. And he just wanted to do me too, just to see where I was at, because I was one of the younger guys there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was somewhere around like 30%. and
That is so that is
and
just
then
so funny.
yeah, like a year later, I was probably below half of that,
Yeah.
like you said.
You just
But
had to
oh
mature out a little bit.
yeah. My nickname actually at one point was Chunk, because I was a little
Chunk.
bit husky.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
hmm
I'm gonna change your name in my phone to that.
Yeah. All right.
But
It's pretty recognizable.
yeah. So back to freshman year, a big thing I feel like a lot of wrestlers think about are not necessarily their big wins. Like, they might have some, but they kind of those things that stay in your mind are those losses. And I
hmm
remember, so you're a 3-time state champ, and the reason you are that is because you took a tough loss at either regionals or sectionals, and you actually ended up not qualifying for state, correct?
Correct.
So what was, I mean, because that's a big, like, especially your freshman year, you're 14, 15. That is a big, like, punch to the gut, especially because you've seen your brothers go to
hmm
state, do well at state, and then also being on a team with your brother, now you're like, I'm not even going to state with him. So how did you, at a young age, kind of flip your mindset to where you turned it around and you went on like a huge high school tear after that? So do you think that
hmm
that loss kind of fueled you?
Absolutely. I think back to that every once in a while, and I'm grateful that happened to me. It was one of the more humbling experiences I had, and then not only that, but it completely changed my perspective on things, from just the wins and the losses to trying to see how good I can get and trying to dominate. And uh, it was just like, looking back, or in the moment, you don't understand why certain things played out the way they did, or how it came to be. But it was pretty obvious to me that a year later that there was a greater plan at hand, and yeah, I felt like it made me more hungry, made me more determined, and just wanted to continue to work.
Yeah, I love that. It was like, instead of it bringing you down where you thought, man, do I suck? It sparked that fire and work ethic even more. And
hmm
and I think those losses sometimes, it's like, sometimes you'd rather have a loss somewhere in the season than like be undefeated, because if you're always trying to be undefeated, it's like you kind of have the stress, like you have the target on your back, but sometimes given that loss, it's like, oh, perfect. Now you just gave me
hmm
the ability to get better because you just showed me what
hmm
I was like not doing well at. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when that happened, because I felt for you too. I was like, what? Like, it was just a weird kind of situation. I mean, it was like you were like the 1 and 2 guy in the state, like in that one little tournament, and then it just didn't go your way. And I was like, no, no. But to see you bounce back how you did was so awesome, because it was like you're like, I'm not gonna waste any more time now, because I only got 3 years left, and you made the most out of those 3 years, like going on a complete, like I said, high school tear, being a 3-time state champ. And
Yeah.
I feel like another big thing with this that I wanted to get into. So you guys were always working with Z mindset, right? Wrestling mindset.
Yes. For a
Yes.
long time.
So when you, I see. I mean, they're still around. They obviously do great work, because the people they've worked with have gone on to do great stuff, and a lot of people don't always get into, kind of the mindset wise of not just doing hard work, but having confidence and being ready mentally when you go on that mat. So what was that? When did you start working with them?
I believe I started working in them heading into my 8th grade year. And it was in the it was in the or the early days of Wrestling Mindset, I think. Maybe they were an established company, but we went to a lot of Ken Chertow wrestling camps, and my mom and Ken Chertow stayed in touch, I guess, throughout wrestling camps because she helped sell some Advocare products. I think you guys
Oh
maybe sold
yeah, I
Advocare
know
too.
that my mom still got that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I still drink it. I still drink it almost every day.
I got
But
some creatine from them.
oh yeah, the cherry flavor.
No, luckily I just got the unflavored. But
Oh, I gotcha.
if you remember the Spark or like the Slams, I always was pumping those at tournaments.
Oh, dude, I still rip them today. But but yeah, so she stayed in touch with him, and he just, I think one day said, "Hey, there's these really good guys from New Jersey that work with Mindset, and they wrestled at Division I level for 5 years, and it would be a good opportunity for your kids to get into if they're serious about wrestling." And I think my mom just saw that opportunity, and all three of my brothers, we started talking with them, and we developed a really, really good friendship. And then I worked with Jeff, and it was Gene and Jeff who founded Wrestling Mindset and still are the owners, and they pretty much run everything. And I worked with Jeff, and I worked with him from like 8th grade all the way through my sophomore or freshman year in college. And then after that, it was almost like a graduation. And
Wow, that's crazy.
I still catch up with him. Yeah, I still catch up with him. But yeah, I think, what is that, like
That's amazing. And
7 years? 7 years?
yeah, 7 years. Wow. Looking to make your business impossible to ignore? Then you need to check out Stratford Sign Company. With over 30 years of experience, Stratford isn't just making signs, they're building brands. From eye-catching storefront signage to full vehicle wraps and even LED digital displays. They handle everything in-house, from design to installation. That means faster turnaround, better quality, and zero headaches. Whether you're a small business trying to stand out or a growing company ready to level up your visibility, Stratford has you covered with custom solutions that actually get noticed. And the best part, every sign is proudly made right here in the US of A, right in Wisconsin as well. So if you're ready to turn heads and bring more customers through your door, visit stratfordsign.com and get your free quote today. Stratford Sign Company, your brand built to be seen. Yeah, shout out to Stratford Sign Company because that is Gavin Drexler's parents' company, and they do amazing work all in Wisconsin. If you see a sign around, there's a good chance it was made by them.
Yeah, roughly 25% chance.
Yeah. So back into. I was hoping that wasn't gonna make you laugh. Honestly, when I hit you with that.
I wasn't ready for it, but that was impressive.
Okay, so 7 years with Wrestling Mindset. So if you can say, what does that kind of entail? Is it just one-on-one meetings, and is it when you after a tournament, before a tournament, do you talk to them, or just whenever?
So I spoke with Jeff one-on-one for about an hour once a week, and it was about 7 years straight. Never. And if I did miss a week for whatever reason, then we would make it up the next week and do 2 the following week. But essentially there's a workbook, and it went through categories like confidence, motivation, self-belief, perseverance. If you got injured, there's a category for coming back from an injury, and there's worksheets within each category, and we just checked off one of them every time we met. And it takes a long time to go through the book if you do one worksheet a week, so that kept me busy for quite some years.
Yeah.
And then after we completed that, and I got like a little bit older to where I guess I didn't necessarily need the formatting, then we just kind of spoke about what I was dealing with throughout the week, what my schedule was looking like up and coming, and how I can just be mentally prepared for I guess anything. And that was probably like where the big growth came in, is when I got to be a little bit older, kind of at that senior level in high school, freshman in college, where I was just really honest with certain things and kind of just got to have a good understanding of who I was and I guess what my mindset looked like, and having him have gone through the whole experience and just being a great person in general, it was easy for me to relate with him and just kind of grow as a wrestler in that mindset.
That is absolutely awesome. Because, I mean, 7 years talking with one guy once a week, I mean, that's not only like, oh, I'm just doing this program. You're building a relationship with him, like the man himself, you know, and that's just so great because obviously, like you say, D1 wrestler, he's gone through it, and then you entering, you know, your senior year, and then you're doing what he did, and you're gonna learn a lot of the experiences that he had, and that's just so cool because I remember you guys doing that. I had my brother Paul and Joey do it as well, and I sat in on a few meetings to see what it was like, and I understood why people were doing it. I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. You know, if you are really having trouble, it will get you on the right track for sure. Because I follow them, I look at their stuff and their do's and don'ts a lot, and I try to implement a lot of those. And just, I mean, wrestling in college is a mindset game. I mean, that's what it's going to be because you're going to get in physical shape. You should already be in physical good shape when you show up to college. So it's really a mental game from there, balancing the life of school and then socializing. You know, like are you gonna get taken in by the parties? Are you gonna switch up your life? Because when you get to college, that's when you really become who you're gonna be for the rest of your life, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's definitely the foundation. Years, you know, maybe in high school, part of who you are, part of the things that you did was maybe because of your parents or just because that's where you grew up. And once you're on your own, I would definitely say that's where the individual starts to make decisions based on who they want to be. And yeah, that shapes you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so you had him even through NDSU. So for people who don't know, Gavin wrestles at North Dakota State University. So what was that like, that process? And, you know, why'd you choose NDSU? Because my older brother, Paul, started out there. And so just, you know, what was that like? Why North Dakota State?
I took some visits to other universities as well, and spoke with spoke with other coaches, and I guess my experience in that recruiting process just definitely, or I should say Fargo and NDSU, just definitely made me feel like I was at home here and I would be taken care of in a place that I felt like I could have success in, both in wrestling and academically in life, and just kind of based it on them sorts of things, and what values I had and where I thought fit in best with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does, because going up there always for you know, Fargo and nationals, it definitely does feel like a Wisconsin, or you know, part of that northern culture there. So I totally understand why you related to it. And so you were recruited there by Coach Kish, but then after your freshman year, you know, he takes the job down in Oklahoma where he is currently. So what was that like? I mean, you get recruited, you're on the team, you actually have a really great redshirt freshman year, going 15-5. You know, you had some good matches. You were able to even do like 2 duels for the team, which was really sweet. Because I wasn't even able to get that. I wasn't part of that 5-match thing. I just had to stay off the thing completely. But
yeah, that's right.
So you have a really great year. You're feeling good, and you're probably pretty confident. So what was that like, having your head coach leave, and then, you know, kind of this uncertainty for a little bit?
Yeah, it felt like a breakup in a relationship or like a family. I mean, it wasn't taken lightly. It was difficult. It was hard, I guess. I really had to look at the bigger picture, I guess, when that happened. Whether I had to look at the bigger picture in the sense of looking at whether or not I stayed based on, you know, what I want in my life long term, and what I wanted in life was still just to be in that Fargo area and continue with my school there as well. And I still had faith in our wrestling program and Obi, who then took over, and uh, it was definitely just a bit of a reflection. And I think me staying here, knowing that, the coach that had recruited me and was my head coach, and actually two of the other coaches left as well, staying here, I think probably just strengthened my belief in, I guess, NDSU. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy thing. It wasn't like I was excited by any means that happened. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a transition, but all in all, I'm glad the way that everything had worked out.
I mean, because it's just so tough nowadays. I mean, because you see kids, they'll, for instance, Northern Colorado last year, Vinny Zurban and Steve
Mm-hmm.
O'Poulin, they all American, huge, and then their head coach, leaves because he got a new job, and now it's like, man, I was just at a place I did good at, but now I feel like I have to leave because my head coach left, and I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're all like, there's few kids that are 24 and stuff, but we're all pretty much we're 22 or below. I mean, that's so
Right.
tough because we've had this guy who's obviously been in our lives now for a few years and a leader or a mentor. And yeah, like I mean, I'm just so grateful I haven't had to deal with that because, yeah, I look at that and I feel bad for those kids because it's a tough decision, like, and like you're saying, you love NDSU and you're like, I don't want to leave, but then having those decisions, well, do I try to follow him? Would I have a spot if I followed him? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
or do I just find a new place? Or do you stay back? But I'm glad you stayed back, honestly, because I feel like it's just in us, like our homegrown, just that loyalty
Mm-hmm.
is really is a great thing to have in a person, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that says a lot about one's character, and that was one thing that I thought about was, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And
A
I
hundred
thought,
percent.
maybe I could go, but it's like at the same time, who's to say that it's going to be better and you're going to like it? And I think that piece to me is what really just kept me here, because I know I already liked everything about NDSU, Fargo, who was already on my team and my class specifically, and I just had to weigh out, what necessarily made sense to me, and obviously what made sense was to stay. And yeah, just
Yeah, I
so glad I
totally
made that
agree.
decision.
And
Yeah.
so let's fast forward a little bit to basically 2025. So that summer, I remember I came out there because I was coaching at Fargo, helping the Wisconsin national team, and then I was like,
Hmm.
no, I was like, oh, duh, Gavin lives here, and I was able to join you guys for a practice, which was really fun, and the coach, I forgot which coach was it, but he was like,
Saran.
yeah, he was like, hey guys, like quit chit chatting. You gotta like drill.
Yeah.
But it was like we were catching up as we were drilling. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I get why you like the team. I mean, those guys. I feel like I've kind of noticed this about a lot of wrestlers. I could probably be friends with 99% of the wrestlers in the NCAA if they were on my team. It's really just like
Hmm.
if they're on your team, you're like ride or die, and then if they're not, it's kind of like not that you like hate them, but you kind of like always put them in this different category to make sure when it's competition time you can kind of like do your job, right? And
Definitely.
and but I what I liked about that trip is because you saw me and I was always going home in summer and not like screwing off. I was going home, I was training with the Askrens and I had a good setup and I was living rent free with at my parents' house and
Hmm.
you were asking like basically like how are you doing this and
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
remember that conversation because I feel like that was a great conversation to show that no matter where you are, and this is for like anybody who's listening, wrestlers, like you have control of your own career,
Absolutely.
and yeah, and like when I told my coach that I was going home for summer, they hated it. They did not
Hmm.
want me to go back because not that they didn't trust that I was going to work out, but they wanted me here to help see me develop, help do this, and I agreed with them. But then for me, it was a mental break because I was able to separate kind of hanging out and not being as focused at home, like where I could kind of
Mm-hmm.
relax a little bit. Because when I
Yep.
was here at school, it's like only grind time, focus, like laser focus, and I couldn't relax here ever. And
Right.
it was just like I couldn't screw off and relax and focus all in the same spot. I kind of need a different environment to do that. And it allowed me to also take a step back, work on my technique, get some different looks from even the high school kids. Obviously, Max Askren, great coach. And
For
I
sure.
remember this conversation because you were like, you know what, I kind of want to come back and maybe we can hang out and we can go all the practices for a week. And I was like, yeah, do it. And the best thing that I told you, I was like, you just got to tell them you're doing it because at the end of the day, the coaches can't force you to be there in summer, since it's all
Right.
optional technically. Like I do that with air quotes, right? Like obviously the coaches want you to be there, but it is technically optional. You do not have to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I told you, and I'm glad you took that opportunity because one, it was just a fun week hanging out with you, but two, it was so awesome because it also got me hyped to be like, yes, we're gonna go get better and get those different looks. So do you think that kind of helped that little week of just going to get those different looks from obviously great coaches?
Yeah, I was just talking about that again the other day, thinking about possibly doing something similar to that this summer. Whether that's back in Wisconsin or elsewhere. Just I think them different looks are super important, and like you said, it does give you a break because when you're here, your whole mindset is to get better. You can always be doing something, and when you go back to a place like your home and are able to, kind of just sit back a little bit, it lets you just unwind, and you're still able to focus on getting better, but them in between periods you can really just relax. And not only did I feel like it helped me technically, but I think it reassured myself that I'm serious about getting better and I'm willing to do, whatever is necessary in order to reach that next level, and taking commitments and action steps like that. So I think that there's tons of pros within that week that I spent with you and them extra workouts, and yeah, just you gain a different perspective on experiences like that too.
Yeah, I think it shows that you become a professional, right? Because if
Hmm.
you look at these, that was a big argument I had just when they kept asking me why, right? I said, look at NFL athletes. Do they hang out at the facility year round? No, they go off like during the off time and go get training
Right.
different places. Running backs, they'll go reach out to famous running backs who retired and pick their brain. And I was like, it's just a reset, but they're a professional, so they're still gonna work on getting better. And that's what I loved. And our coaches talk about that a lot. Like if you're a college athlete, you're not just a college athlete or a college wrestler. You're a professional. Some guys get
Hmm.
paid now, so it's like it's your actual job, just like a professional athlete. And your
Right.
job is to make sure you get good grades, compete hard, and continue to get better at wrestling. And I really took that seriously where I'm like, yeah, I'm a professional. I don't slack off. When I go home, I can relax, get my workouts in, and they're focused workouts, quality. And yeah, I absolutely love that week. And I kind of did it last year, but I was also hurt, so I couldn't go into practice as much.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I think every year I did that, and it worked out great for me, and it was also a great mindset
Yeah.
switch, honestly. But
Yeah.
let's so then you use that summer, great summer, and then boom, you go into your 2025 season, and you actually had a fantastic year. It was a big jump from you went up from 41 to 49, and
Hmm.
so what was that kind of switch like? Were you nervous about jumping weights and yeah, just what was that season like?
I wasn't nervous about jumping weights. I mean, I felt like I was plenty big for the weight class still. I guess I was maybe cutting a little bit of weight to 141, and 149 I felt like suited me better. So coming into that year, I was excited. A little bit of new landscape, being in a different weight class, and yeah, I was just excited for that year.
Yeah, and you had a pretty good season. I mean, during the year you were kind of you were about 20-9, I think, going into conference or something like that, and
Yep.
wrestled a lot of matches. I mean, that is a lot of matches. That's over 30, and that's over 30 before conference even. So, did you like wrestling more matches? Because now we see a lot of people not wrestling as much.
I would say there was definitely some pros to it and not pros. Maybe, I guess I didn't even realize I wrestled that many matches, but I think that it probably just helped me peak, at the end of the year. I think a pro that you could say for not wrestling as many matches is you're maybe a little bit more fresh, not as fatigued from the weight cut, not as burnt out from the season, but it's harder to gain some of that experience and data in order to help you peak at the end of the year. So, I mean, looking back at it, I'm glad that's how it went. I think it worked out for the best, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely did because you All American this year, but partway through the season, you kind of took a little break, and I actually thought you were injured because I didn't see you just go on the trips or anything. I was like, or I just didn't see you wrestling. I was like, oh, maybe he's injured, and I was just like, I'm just gonna put it at that, like maybe he'll be fine or something. But what was actually going on during that time?
I just, it was just a bit of a hard, I think I had such high expectations for myself heading into the year because I started out I would say I had a strong start to my season, and kind of halfway through that year, I was a bit frustrated with my performance. I felt like I was performing my best and I was losing matches I thought I should have won. And it essentially was just, I was losing faith within the process. I felt like it was almost like I was just going to be spinning in circles and maybe not really getting anywhere in wrestling. And I was just frustrated. I felt like I was, I guess not making the leaps and strides in the time that I was thinking that I was going to. So, I kind of expressed that to my coaches, and I was going through a little bit of a part of my life, or I was just going through a little bit of a stretch in that season where I was frustrated and
it just got rough.
Yeah, pretty much. And I wouldn't lie. I'm not going to lie. I did think about quitting. I thought about, what my future was going to look like because I like to win, and it sucked losing and me kind of losing sight of the end goal, thinking I wasn't going to be able to achieve it. And I think a lot of it was just losing sight of the bigger picture. I was probably looking at the more week in, week out things and not focused on the end of the year and what the ultimate goal was. And it just took a couple of days, or I guess a week, for me to reset. And, luckily my coaches were willing and able to work with me there, and they still let me come back with open arms and still loved me just as much. They didn't change up on me, and I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, I think almost that middle of the year, something within me changed when I came back.
That is so awesome. Because a lot of times, if you went to a coach and you're like, hey, I think I need a break, a lot of them would be like, what are you talking about? Like we got a competition this weekend, we need you, and for actually being able to get that break, mentally, that sounds so refreshing. It almost sounds like more people should do that, communicating with their coaches and saying, I might not be injured, but I think I need a break this week. And I think that's really cool. And again, the fact that they welcomed you back when you had that break, and they didn't think of you as selfish for taking that break.
Right.
I think is really, really special.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that, you're not always promised, and I was unsure how they would react to that, but luckily they had forgiveness and, and grace, and yeah. And I not necessarily that my performances were instantly better when I came back, but I could just tell within my mood, within my approach into practice, even it was better, and I was happier, and that definitely helped propel me to have a good end of my or a good end of the season in that season.
Yeah, I mean, because you went into Big 12s, and I'm pretty sure you needed to place that top 4, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and I remember because we got done with Pac-12s on Thursday, so we were the first conference done. So we're like, okay, let's sit back and watch all these conferences. And I was watching you, and I knew you needed to get that top 4, and you had to go through some tough dudes to do it. And I was like, man, this is gonna be brutal. But watching you wrestle, I mean, you were just wrestling so free. It seemed like, hidden things that you even did in high school. That like slap down, misdirection, and I was like, this is so sweet. Like Gavin looks like insane, and
vintage.
Yeah, vintage, and. Man, so that was so cool. So seeing you qualify, I was pumped. I was like, wow, let's go. Like he's gonna go to nationals. Like especially doing it on your second season. I mean, that was so cool. And so I remember also being at nationals, and we hung out like Wednesday night. Our parents ran into each other, and I was kind of just giving you some advice, like one match at a time, like because obviously I was there the year before, and I went 0-2. And I was kind of like too starstruck by the crowd, like looking up and because it's fun to take it all in. But at the end of the day, you're a wrestler, and you're there to wrestle. You're not there to watch the show. You are the entertainment. So you got to be focused. And so what was that like? Did you have more confidence after that Big 12 performance going into nationals? But you're still kind of given a bad seed. You're given that 22 seed. Which that's not a lot of grace, So what was that like? Did you even care about the seed? What was that like?
I mean, it gave me confidence. I guess maybe it just reaffirmed that I had what it took to beat some of the better guys, and that I am as good as I thought I was in a sense. And I guess I was so just like proud of like the comeback that I kind of had from the beginning of the season to where I was in the middle of the season. So it was almost like, I didn't necessarily care how I did at the national tournament. That's all I cared about, was just giving it my best. And I think with taking away like that care, it just allowed me to wrestle at my highest potential. And I think that's something that, trying to like replicate that year after year now, just trying to figure out how to let yourself be more free on the mat is a big piece. And, you probably know pretty well about that. It seems like you just continue to get better throughout your career. But yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the biggest thing, just feel like I wrestle more free.
And the great part was, I mean, you had to go through the backside too. Because how was your first day? Was it because you went 1-1 your first day, correct?
Yeah, so I lost my first match.
Oh my gosh.
And then won my second one. Yeah.
That is tough to do. There's very few people who literally lose their first match, and that's a long road back to the blood round. To get on that podium. And
for sure.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, because I feel like at that point you're just like, it's just wrestling at that point. You're like, yep, next one up, survive in advance. Like, oh, did I not take the best shot that match? Whatever. I won, so I'm on the next one. So, I mean, and a great part was I saw you Wednesday night, we were talking, and I didn't see you again until right after the blood round, where a lot of people don't know, but if you win the blood round, it's awesome. You're so excited. But then you got another match, and it comes up quick. And
yes.
And I remember, I won my blood round. I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm All American. But I'm like, oh, I gotta go over the screen. And I go over the screen, and I see you pacing back and forth. I was like, no effing way. And because we just couldn't watch each other. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because if we're warming up, I'm like, I leaned over, I like mouthed the words like, did you win? And you like gave me like a head nod and a smirk. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh dude, that's one of like my favorite moments because I was just like, no way. Like Gavin freaking Drexler, All American. And what's even funnier is because you went through a brutal backside. I mean, you lost, then you won, then I think you got a forfeit somewhere in there, right? To Parco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, in my next match.
Yeah, so Parco hurt his knee, but then you won again, and then you were in the blood round against Cannon Webster, who's no joke at all. And that's what I saw. I was like, oh my gosh, he's got Webster. Like, that's going to be a really tough blood round. You know, that he just lost in the quarterfinals. You know, he's probably still pretty confident. And you got the job done. What was that like?
It was exciting. There's probably like a video of me like after the match is over. You know, my reaction wasn't very like
That's what I laugh about
exciting
that
looking.
video.
Yeah, I was just completely like, it was a whole different experience. It just didn't really feel real. Like I knew like that was what my goal was. That's what I believed I could do. But you know, still nothing's ever guaranteed. Didn't know if I would get it, and I won, and my reaction was almost emotionless. Just I didn't even know how to process
That's
it.
what I love about it. Like you won, you raise your hand, and it's almost like on your face, it's almost like you're still locked in. Where it's like people who go to war and they can't like relax afterwards.
Yeah.
Like even though no, you're good, and it's like you couldn't relax, and it was almost like then your coach freaking grabs you and just like swings you around, and I thought it was so funny because I'm like, did he know he won? Like you did it, and like. Oh my gosh, but that's one of my favorite videos. I'm like, you know what? That's a classic Gavin video because I've seen him win 3 state titles and almost like he gave like a fist pump one time, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was.
I never had the back. I didn't have the backflip in me. So
Yeah.
my celebrations were always pretty limited.
Yeah, I mean, and when you did it, like I felt like I almost was more excited for you than I was for myself because I've just known how close you've been, even through high school, like with Fargo and stuff. Like you've always been close for like freestyle All American. Like it was forever and ever and ever, and then it was like he went through his freshman year in high school, he lost, he could have been a 4-time state champ, and then just being at NDSU and seeing you do it was just like. It was so awesome because I'm like, I know the type of person you are, and I was like, he freaking deserves that, dude. That's so sick. And to do it at NDSU where, your original coach left and you were there and things were kind of weird and just the uncertainties and then hearing that, you were going through even some mental struggles through the season, I was like, oh my gosh, dude. Like that's what the NCAA tournament is about. Like, yeah, it's just such a war. And so many people are going through things, either physical injuries or that mental stress or just personal problems, and being able to see you overcome that was just so awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And so yes, now you're at NDSU, and you got one more year left, which is so awesome. I mean, what are you kind of looking for in your last year, because you've been an All-American before, you kind of know what it takes. You're trying to get that. Just like for me, it was how can I show up to practice every day with a positive attitude because I love this, and I obviously love this because I'm doing it for 5 years, and how do I show up every day to not only make this better for myself but also for then the guys coming in, because eventually there's going to be someone else, Have you started doing that?
Yeah. I would say I have a very similar approach. My biggest thing is, like you said, just have a positive attitude about it, kind of have a growth mindset. And I just know, there's going to be days where I'm not feeling it, days where I am feeling it. And nonetheless, that's where that discipline piece comes in. And also on top of it, I believe in like what you give out, you receive back, multiplied by more. And if I give out energy to everybody else, then everybody else will kind of reflect energy on me as well, and it kind of pushes you to get better. So I think just being positive, encouraging other people too, and people feel that, and they wanna help you just as much. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, just that positivity piece.
Yeah, I agree with that, and also like through your college career, have you also seen kind of, because we were talking about earlier how like you kind of become the person you're going to be for the rest of your life, and
Mm-hmm.
have you seen your faith also grow in this? Because I know you're Catholic, I know your
Mm-hmm.
family's Catholic. Have you kind of seen that faith aspect, and almost like you were saying, like when you're having those struggles, you were missing the bigger picture, and have you seen that bigger picture kind of come into play?
Yeah, 100%. It takes away that persona that it's wins and losses. It's more, um, how can I be the best version of myself, and how does what I'm doing right now reflect who I am, and how can I use what I'm doing day in and day out to kind of to glorify God, and let His will kind of be done and not mine. So
Yeah,
um,
because there's
I
no,
definitely,
I mean, like what you went through, especially in the 2025 season. I mean, there's no shot that God was by your side during that season.
yeah, yeah, I think, yeah,
I mean, he was with you definitely all the way. Those mental struggles, and what I found a lot, like sometimes I tried to be this. I tried to like not not mess or not annoy God with my problems, I guess, where I tried to think, you know what, I can do it myself. I don't need him. I don't want to bother him. That's how I
hmm
felt. And then I was like, that's so stupid. Like he wants us to depend on him. Like a real
right,
father would, Like my dad, like if I ask him for help, he would help me, and he loves the fact that he's able to help me and is in a great position to
hmm
help me no matter what the situation is. And I was like, I'm so dumb for that. Like, what a silly thought that I would bother God with my troubles. And so when I started doing that, and just like my prayer volume went up greatly, and then my wrestling was more fun. And even though like we had a tough season this past year, just with like the amount of guys who were injured, and I was able to thankfully stay on the team, and like and wrestle every competition with the guys, so that I could show consistency. And that's what I kept like telling myself when I didn't, had days where I didn't want it. I was like, I gotta be there. This ain't just about me. I gotta show my team that I'm consistent, and
for sure.
that I'm always gonna be here to help them. And I'm, when I'm not feeling it, I'm gonna do it for them.
hmm Yeah, I think everything you just said there resonates with me and with anybody who's Christian or athlete. And uh, I mean, the prayer volume thing too. I would also like say that that was me too. Like it was kind of the whole year. I just felt like I was constantly praying to God. Coming to Him with, I guess, my problems, and just asking for strength, because there's certain parts of the year, or anybody who goes through difficult times. It feels like you can't do it by yourself, and you need to believe in something bigger than yourself. And I think just having that faith, and the courage to ask Him, and the humbleness to ask for certain things, you receive. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he was definitely there with me throughout that season.
And I've been seeing that. I mean, a lot of wrestlers like it. For wrestlers, I feel like Christianity is a huge thing in the wrestling community, because I
Yeah.
think this sport almost guides us to it. And I've said it on my last podcast. I would say, at first when I started wrestling, I would use God for wrestling, right? I wanted to
hmm
use him to get me better at wrestling, help me win matches. And then kind of this year and last year, I started realizing like, no, I got to use wrestling for God. You know, how can I use this sport to glorify Him the most? And at the end of the day, it changed who I am for the better, because I started to realize, yes, I love wrestling. I want to do my best. But, you know, I went 2-2 at the NCAAs. I lost my last match and I was out. And, you know, I wasn't like sad. You know, I was a little upset with the fact that I wanted to win and I thought I was capable of All American again. But it was like, I don't know, I just gave my best effort, and I kind of knew that in the end is God's not going to judge me on how I wrestled a match, you know. All I would ask is to give my best effort, to help ask Him to allow me to give my best effort, keep me healthy, and that's what He did, and my prayers were answered. I felt satisfied still, even though I would felt a little unsatisfied, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that like kind of that trust that everything's going to be taken care of the way it should be, and changed my perspective and things. And instead of trying to control the outcome, I just kind of surrendered that, and I just focused on what I could control with my effort and my attitude. And as long as I know, like, I did the best I could within them two pieces there, whether I won or I lost, it was up to God to make that decision, and He always knows what's best.
I love that too, the surrender of the outcome. I just had Parker Kekais on, and he was saying that was a big stepping point for him, was he just started to surrender the outcome, and he constantly says it. Like, it's just his mindset, you know. And lastly, I wanted to get to this because this just broke literally 2 hours ago. For those who don't know, this podcast right now, it's April 1st, and NDSU, SDSU, Northern Colorado, Air Force joining the Pac-12s. For your last year, that's got to be pretty exciting. You know, for your last year, you're going to be in a different conference, and actually in the same conference as Little Rock. So for duels, I'm going to be able to see you. Hopefully, if you guys host us, like, hopefully I'll be able to come out there and watch you, and then or maybe you'll come back to the Rock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think anytime that I think change is good, and this is not an April Fool's thing too. A lot of people were thinking that. But
yeah, I saw that.
But I'm excited for it. You know, I think like a little bit of a change is good, and new opportunities is always exciting. So, you know, not much to not be excited about for it.
Yeah, I mean, new goal, get to try to be a Pac-12 conference champ, and hope. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool. I got a cool medal. It's a cool thing, and then we got the Pac-12.
You got a ring too.
Oh yeah, we get rings because we won the duels 2 years in a row, and
that's sweet.
And last year we won it, and you know they tried to take my buddy's eligibility away, or they said he wasn't eligible, but he wrestled the whole year. It was some bull crap, but we, even though they took his points away in all the matches, in all the duels, we still won the duels, and we were like, dude, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So we still, and we won the tournament before the eligibility. So, I mean, if they want that trophy, someone's got to come get it. But it's somewhere hidden. I don't know or maybe we don't have it. I don't know where it is. But oh,
that's good.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So, I mean, Gavin, thank you so much. I was so excited for this podcast just because the friendship we have and your story is just so awesome, and what you always bring to the table. I mean, you're always giving your best effort in every match, and I'm just excited to watch your last year, honestly, and I'm almost glad I'm a year ahead so I can actually sit back and watch you wrestle. So, and I hope we can cross paths in summer. Maybe I'll do some coaching for Fargo, the national team again. We'll get to scrap again up there or something.
Yeah.
And
well, thanks.
and maybe we get some more gridlocks, you know.
Gridlocks and a Quick Trip donut.
Yeah, those Aldi energy drinks, and nothing beats the Quick Trip donuts, dude. I mean, I was just home last week, and I went twice to get some.
It's hard not to stop.
Oh yeah. As soon as I enter the Wisconsin border, I stop at the first one. And then and my fiance's always like, maybe we should space out the treats, and I'm like
No.
no, pull off right now. But yes, it's been fun. I was so hyped to have you on. Again, wrestling mindset, wrestling niche, wrestling mindset. You've heard it here from Gavin Drexler himself. 2025 NCAA D1 All American. You will go through struggles. You will go through bumps in the road. And it's about staying the course and keeping the faith, believing in yourself and building up yourself and having what Gavin was saying, that growth mindset. Because at the end of the day, wrestling will end, but wrestling mindset does not end. You can continue to use that mindset through life, and you're going to become a better person for it. You really are. And Gavin, again, thank you for being on the podcast. And yes, hopefully our paths will cross soon.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
It's been great.
Thank you for tuning in again. Wrestling mindset, wrestling niche. We will be back in here and have more current wrestlers on and more past wrestlers to just get that different genre. And we're looking forward to it. We're going to have NCAA champs in here, people who are starting their own businesses, still using the mindset. It's going to be great. You can find it all here at Mindset with Matty. So thank you for tuning in again. Mindset with Matty.